Last year, Copper 90 and I visited the Seattle Sounders, whose fan base had become the talk of US sport. Whilst what we experienced here was truly impressive, all we kept hearing was, you've got to come back here to experience the atmosphere of our derby. On top of that, you guys commented week after week, demanding we cover the fixture, so we've listened and we're back. This time I'm visiting both cities, and whilst they're separated by over 170 miles, in US soccer terms, this is a local derby with its own history, prestige and rivalry.
Through the years, there's always been some rivalry between Portland and Seattle, the Portland Buckaroos and Seattle Totems and the old hockey leagues, but nothing really would compare to what the Seattle-Portland soccer rivalry would become.
There's a lot of history. There's a lot of hatred.
Rivalries are rivalries, you know. It's important for the fans, for bragging rights for the year.
The very first game we ever played was against Seattle, which they beat us. And then we beat them in the playoffs and sent them home. We've been doing this rivalry with Seattle since 1975.
First game, about 8,000 people pouring down a rain, artificial turf. Don't forget it was the old baseball stadium, so in those days they used to just cut down the baseball mound.
Our home opener for 2005 was against Portland Timbers. You could tell something was different because our coach, Brian Schmetzer, was making sure that everyone was new in the locker room, knew what was different about this match.
As a player, you love it. It's what it's all about. There's something special about when you beat your local rivals.
It's just a melting pot when you play each other. It's just, it gets out of control sometimes.
If the rivalry between these two teams was ever in doubt, on this very pitch just last week, Seattle and Portland met in the US Open Cup, a game which was hardly your average fixture.
I've been a part of games with, one red card, two red cards a couple times, never three.
It was a very intense match.
We scored first, they leveled it, down a man, and then they made their subs and lost a guy to injury, so now they're down 2 men, and I think they pretty much knew the game was done.
You couldn't believe what happened, actually. They call a red card on one of our players. Clint Dempsey is fed up, so he picks up the notepad and then just rips it up, throws it up in the air, man.
Clint Dempsey is now banned for 2 years from the cup. I mean, it's like our dream.
How heated did it get towards the end?
The referees had to be walked off by a police escort.
Seeing that red come out to him, it was the most beautiful thing. And we got more than a victory. We got a Seattle meltdown, which makes it even sweeter.
We often say that these games mean more than 3 points, but for Portland and Seattle, that's literally the case.
The Cascadia Cup started in the USL era when the supporter groups of Seattle, Portland, and Vancouver got together and got this idea, let's have a competition amongst the three.
Every year we play 3 times against Seattle, 3 times against Vancouver, and Vancouver plays against Seattle 3 times.
Whoever gets the most points in those 3-team series takes home the Cascadia Cup, and I got to tell you, the fans love it.
It was created by a friend of mine, and he and some supporters got together and came up with the idea of this Cascadia Cup. It's not sponsored by any corporate entity, it's not sponsored by the league, it's totally supporter group focused.
The fact that it's owned by the fans and competed amongst the players for the fans, that's what makes it special.
One of the keys to the success of this rivalry and US soccer in general are the fans, and there's no better example of this than here at S2, a 3rd division 2nd team of the Sounders, of which these fans own 20%.
ECS is Emerald City Supporters. It's the independent supporters group for Seattle Sounders. It started 2005. There's a desire to be active. There's a desire to wave flags and to sing.
There was discussions with the supporter group, Emerald City Supporters, and they set up a partnership. It's something that we're really proud of, something that's, it's brand new to America. So it's the Sounders Community Trust for S2. We feel like this is really important for the club to start developing at a young age. We know that across the world, that's really what the top clubs, top teams, and countries do.
You don't have to be an ECS member to be in the ECS. You need to be there singing and supporting your team.
There's being a fan and there's being a little bit more than a fan.
When I started with the Army back when we were 20, I can't say I was the first one or the first 10, but I was the first 20. Part of what you experienced there was the camaraderie, the intensity, the passion. It's the closest thing you can come to playing the game without being on the field.
We never imagined when we started this, all of us would be lying if we said we thought I'll be sitting in a clubhouse that belonged to us, that we would have 4,000 to 5,000 people standing with us every game, that we would have sold 40,000 of those Timbers Army scarves. All we wanted to do was create a place for like-minded fans.
And if the support these fan bases are giving their teams wasn't enough, well, they're doing it off the pitch too, with a TIFO battle culture on the terraces that's become legendary.
I think the TIFOs are one of the best parts of the rivalry.
The importance of TIFO in the rivalry is legendary. It sets the tone.
There's a competition inside the lines, but there's somewhat of a competition outside the lines with which fans can be better.
And the next installment of this battle, well, it goes up in the famous North End on Sunday, and we've been invited by the Timbers Army to come here to Providence Park before Derby Day and see how much work goes into making it.
So this is about 24 hours before the game. We've got about 30 or 40 volunteers in here. We're just setting up the TIFO for tomorrow's match against Seattle. We actually probably started working on this one design-wise like in February or March, and so right now it's June. Been painting and working on it for probably 3 weeks.
They need a warehouse, they need a ton of paint, ton of time, ton of energy to make that happen. And then also a unique thing is I have a few in my garage, some smaller ones that they make. I've got maybe 4 or 5 of those personalized to me from the Timbers Army.
Is it just like seeing your baby, graduate college?
That's a really good description. It's like you're giving birth to this idea and you're giving birth to this living piece of art, like that's gonna last for 2 minutes. For us, we can't play the game. All we can do is create the best atmosphere. For us, this is how we win the game.
One of the best known TIFOs was Seattle's decades of dominance, which perhaps featured the most controversial figure in the derby's history. I got 2 words for you. Roger Levesque.
Oh, legend. 1 word, legend.
He just embraced the rivalry from the beginning. Once you put him in, he's gonna give you everything he has. He's gonna run the whole time he's in there nonstop.
Roger on the field is a very hard worker.
Everybody knows Roger Levesque. Everybody loves Roger Levesque. He's the nicest guy. He's always been hated by the Timbers fans.
So you love him naturally?
So we love it, yeah.
Could you go to a bar in Portland?
I don't think so. I don't think they'd let me in.
I'm sure when they hear his name, they cringe, they're like, oh.
I actually don't know if there's a more hated Sounder in the history of the Sounders.
He became a symbol of everything we don't like about Seattle.
I embrace being the guy that the Timbers love to hate.
The most irritating thing that was ever done by Roger Levesque was scoring that goal, and yes, the Sounders rub it in, 48 seconds into a match down here.
But scoring within a minute of an away derby wasn't enough for Levesque.
So just talking with a buddy, figuring out a way that we could, if we score, really drive home that point to the Timbers Army.
Between the two of them, they contrived the goal celebration where Levesque would be the tree.
And had a teammate chop me down.
I was in section 107, having him do that right in front of me to my left.
A celebration that I think will live on in the rivalry for years to come.
The incredible matchday atmospheres that the Timbers Army have created have made Portland a city I've always wanted to visit, and this is only enhanced by unique characters like Timber Joey.
When we score a goal, he slices off a piece of wood and we get to hold it up, and it's one of the special features about playing for the Portland Timbers.
And it was Timber Jim, Joey's predecessor, who first came up with the idea.
I think when you talk about the supporters' culture, it started with Jim.
Timber Jim was organic, literally. Came from nowhere, had the idea for himself, approached the club with an outrageous idea.
I called the general manager at the time and I said, I'd like to bring a chainsaw to the games. Hell no, you're not bringing a chainsaw in the stadium, are you nuts? I said, no, I'll take the chain off that cuts. It'll be totally safe.
Jim used to have a spar pole, and he would climb up to the top of this pole and dance on it.
It was 100 feet and it was 24 inches on the top.
He's got his spikes on, he's climbed the pole, he's got this bloody great big chainsaw on his back.
And he would lead us in cheers from the top of that spar pole, banging his drum, waving his flag, and we'd all join in.
As a player, it was just beyond belief.
And I'd stay up there until they scored a goal. Sometimes I'd be up there a couple games. And then as soon as they scored the goal, I'd zip down the spar pole, and then I'd run over to where we had the big log up on a pedestal, and then I'd saw that off.
We have a saying in the Timbers Army, right? It's about team, town, Timbers Army. We support our team, we support our town, and then we support our fellow supporters to make sure that, you know, we're all taken care of. The 107 Independent Supporters Trust, named after Section 107, and that's our member services organization. So a small fee, $25 a year, and we take that money, we sell merchandise as well, t-shirts and scarves, and we use that to fund our TIFO, but also to fund community efforts. So we do things like, we donated $50,000 to a local high school to rebuild their soccer pitch.
The Timbers Army is all about charity. I choke up just talking about it. The things that they've done.
Jim lost his daughter in a car accident, and he asked the Army to sing "You Are My Sunshine" right after that, with his granddaughter in his arms who had lost her mom.
So around the 80th minute, we'll sing "You Are My Sunshine." It's a moment, you know, where it's a song for her, but it's also a song to this club.
Jim is in the blood and in the soul of what we do as well in the match, and he was from that very first time he struck up the chainsaw to the time when he retired.
Did you realize what you were coming into when you came into this?
It was a lot smaller than this when I came in. This was back in USL days in 2008, and it's just grown like a family should.
Players that play for other clubs where they don't have this privilege. So a derby rivalry against Portland is something that you want to try to appreciate in the moment.
When you walk out of that tunnel, you smell it, you feel it, you can feel the energy. It's just Cascadia game.
And so it all comes down to this. 22 on the pitch and almost 22,000 effort, battling out for the title of Kings of Cascadia. It's just relentless, and these scenes that they're creating, well, it can only be good for US soccer as a whole.
This time it's Beers with the ball in, Orlando won! Lamarnago finds a brief moment of space, and Seattle have tied it. And goals change games. They got players forward. They ended up getting another free kick in a dangerous area. Timbers take a 2-1 lead. Is there more in the cards? Ami. He wants another!
This is insane! I don't know what just happened. I was on the cafe stage. Next thing I know, it's 3-1 Portland, and it's just, look, it's anarchy. There's smoke. It's green and gold. You can't breathe. It's 4-1. The North End has been soaked in beer. The security are high-fiving people. What's going on? The scenes we saw there today, I mean, how do you describe that?
That's just what our fans bring, especially for derby game.
I played in a lot of teams in big stadiums, but the fans here is just amazing. You know, what you see here, you never see it even in Europe.
Without them, there is no Portland Timbers. There is no atmosphere that's world class.
When you did that celebration,
Yeah.
did you know you were going to start this reaction from the media afterwards?
No, it's just something when I scored my second goal, and I tried to run, but I was, oh, the chainsaw is right there. So I ran to it and picked it up and tried to do something nice with it.
So he actually gives you the log?
Yeah.
And you take this home?
No, I don't take it home. I leave it here.
You leave it here. We already knew that football had a huge presence in Seattle, and after that trip we knew a visit to Portland was essential. And the efforts we saw the Timbers Army put in before and during Derby Day exemplified this, as we saw a genuine fan base use their football club to celebrate their region in so many ways. And that's not forgetting the Seattle Sounders in the ECS, who, reminiscent of away sections that I've seen in Europe, completely packed out their bay and just did not stop singing for the complete 90 minutes. You know, it really makes you realize this is why Cascadia is not just the envy of US soccer, but US sport. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it, leave a comment down below and tell us where we should go next for Derby Days. And of course, subscribe to Copper 90, where the game from England to Cascadia never stops.